No sport is more resistant to change than the game of golf. Whether it's cultural, like Live Golf, golf rulings, like the golf ball change, or if we go back to the 1960s, technology when the first golf buggies were starting to be introduced. And I get the pushback because I love the game of golf for its rawness, its purity, and its overall challenge. However, what if I've got something here that can give that purity back to some golfers that potentially need it, and maybe even some that don't. Guys, how you doing? Welcome back to a brand new video. Simon here, SAS Golf Academy, and we're soon to get out on the golf course to test what I can see as somewhat controversial, but then also quite brilliant. I want to answer 3 simple questions. Number 1, does this device in here respect the purity of the game? Number 2, who's it actually for? Price, demographic, even country. And lastly, probably the most important question, will it affect a golfer's swing? So whilst I unbox this device and get it set up for myself, obviously make my way to the golf course, let's start with number 1. Does this device belong in the game of golf, especially when it comes to the raw purity of the game? And nothing says raw purity quite like a rainy day in England to film this actual video. For anyone that was moaning about the 4 months of sunshine we had in this country, you're welcome, the rain's back. So while I cower under this tree over here and wait for the rain to somewhat subside, let me give you a bit of an introduction of what this actually does. I'm actually really excited to talk about it. So big thanks to Hypershell for introducing me to this product and obviously offering me the opportunity on reviewing this device. But in a nutshell, this is supposed to give you 40% more leg strength, offset almost 30 kilos in terms of weight on your back, and overall reduce 30% of physical exertion, which is why I'm quite excited to test it, as there's one thing in golf I've always kind of off-put. Okay, we're braving it. There's a gap in the clouds at the moment. I've never used an electric trolley. I've actually never used a push trolley, even in like pro-ams when I was obviously playing those back in the day, and you're allowed as a professional to use an electric trolley, and it makes sense. It saves you energy. It probably saves your back as well at the same time, and because of that energy saving, surely it means you're going to be playing, well, better golf. And it's only when I started using this device, and I'm excited to share what I'm feeling right now, but I see a direct correlation. I kind of like the old romanticism of me carrying my own clubs and going on the golf course, even though deep down I know it's probably making me play worse golf and probably not doing any good to my body. Right, let's power this thing off whilst I give it a hit. I do marvel when it comes to engineering and technology nowadays. This is completely un-golf related because how lightweight this is, how it actually applies strength, and I'll talk about that in a minute whilst I'm walking, and still give me the range of movement. I'm not being funny. Golf is all about torque, it's all about turning, it's all about ground force interaction, and I'm not surprised it's taken this many years for something of this kind of quality to actually be produced to the market. The question is, can I still swing a golf club whilst using the thing? Yes, we will take that. We're going to go through these modes in a minute, and we're going to do a test, especially uphill test, which I'm excited to see. However, at the moment, that's just my battery level. If I press that button once, that's Eco Mode 1. Actually, you know what? Let's double tap it. Let's go Eco Mode 2. See what that does for me. And I must be completely transparent, as I do have a referral link in the description for this video, and I'm going to give some flaws of this device at the same time as talk about the pros. But the reason that I chose to do this review, as I do turn down a lot of reviews, is that I do believe there is a place for this device in this game, and actually how it's a more of a pure form of an energy saving device than, let's say, more traditional methods. Amazingly, 6 days of rain. Preferred lies is now back out, and again, a big talking point is those things over there potentially won't be allowed on soon. Now I know I'm doing that corny YouTuber thing where you put the camera in the distance and pretend that you haven't just walked up and put your tripod up there, but it's amazing, this thing, as it feels alive. I can't quite describe it. I think for a lot of my clients that actually want to come and test this, you're more than welcome, because as I go uphill, even though it's in eco mode and I haven't changed the setting, it almost knows that I'm going uphill, which it kind of adds a bit more torque. It's almost like gears. It's not helping me up. It's such a weird feeling, but I feel like there's just less weight to bear. I wanted to do a bit of research on buggies in terms of when they were introduced, and they got popular in the 1960s, and the overall idea of buggies in golf, and the majority was negative. People thought it was cheating, it was lazy, it was for people that basically couldn't walk 18 holes. Whereas nowadays in 2025, whether you're 18, 30, 60, slightly hungover, no one even thinks twice about playing in a buggy. When I was an assistant in the shop, even 5 years ago, people would use a buggy in medal competitions, monthly competitions at your local golf club, where back in 1960 or even 1970, 80, I bet there would have been an absolute outroar. Ooh, leave it, wind. It's gonna push a touch. She should be all right. Go on then, let's ramp it up a touch. Let's go, Eco Mode 3. Watch me, oh my God. To put it simply, I completely understand. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few people in the comments going, what on earth is this and why does it belong in golf? But as someone that worked in so many pro shops and so many people quit the game, give up the game, or even have to use a buggy, even though they don't want to use a buggy, actually want to start carrying their golf bag again, but have to use an electric trolley, and when it rains too much and electric trolleys aren't allowed on the course, they simply can't get out. For me as a golf coach, more importantly, I want to see more people playing golf, less fatigued, and if anything, when it comes to having an aid on the golf course to make you somewhat stronger, get you out more, go up the hills, go down the hills. Well, very early on, even though I haven't tested the full capability of this thing, I think it's great. I'm going to go to Eco Mode 4 and I'm going to tell you exactly, I found it. This is a perfect way to describe this device. If you've ever seen that Michael McIntyre clip where he describes skipping and people going, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm winning. That is exactly what this feels like. It's honestly like being in an anti-gravity chamber. I feel my legs working. I still feel like I'm getting exercise. There's still exertion there. It's just that much more lighter. For me, it just feels like there's very little pressure going through my knees at the moment. Here's the first negative of the Hypershell versus a buggy. A buggy has a roof. And then 5 minutes later, that thing pops out. Go on then, Eco Mode 4. Let's see what you're worth. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. You know I give it to you straight, and it's noticeable when I'm wearing it. To say that it's completely unrestricted, especially as a game of golf where it's such a rotational sport, is that I notice it there. I wouldn't say necessarily it's stopping me get into that position, but if you were to play golf with this, it would take some practice. Enough practice that you're not thinking about it. I think that's the easiest way to describe it. Because realistically, to play your best golf, we're not supposed to have many swing thoughts. And if you're thinking about what's strapped between your legs, when you're obviously playing this game, well, it's probably not going to help, is it? And to be fair, I made a par on the par 5 up the hill, so there is definitely that. The second drawback, and I guess it wouldn't count for many people, is that because golf bags sit horizontally, and obviously the exoskeleton bar also sits horizontally, I can feel them jostling against each other. I could probably adjust my bag, to be honest. The golf bag is kind of designed to sit in the same kind of place. But as I say, I imagine a lot of people that would buy this probably would be using an electric trolley or even a push trolley to get the max weight saving, energy producing, bits of technology all together. Well, this certainly is going to put my short game to the test. Wet, bare lie, above the feet, 70 odd yards or so. Oh, go on, be the one. Best shot I've ever hit. Maybe I should start playing with this thing. Oh, go on, Simon. Now, like a lot of devices nowadays, this also comes with an app. However, you don't need an app to use it. Again, all I have to do is basically press once to turn it off. So again, we're off at the moment. Press it again to turn it on. So now my legs are raring to go. 3 taps to turn it down, 1, 3 taps to turn it down, 1, or 2 taps to turn it up. Or if I hold it, we go into hyper mode. And at first, when I was testing this device, I was thinking, oh, maybe I'm not the right demographic to test it because I go running a lot. And again, at the age of 34, again, I see myself walking the course quite considerably. However, when I go through the modes of this, I honestly don't think that you would need hyper mode, even though I'm excited to test it up the hill in a minute. Quicker than I thought, considering all the rain. However, I'm very happy Hypershell got in touch with me just to experience this kind of technology. Is that I'm thinking if you were to go for a big hike, I'm talking uphill, even at my age, and it's not to say this thing does it for you, it just assists you. So if I was going up a really steep hill slash mountain for the first time, assisted chin up, as you will. Do you know what I mean? When you get to that machine, it kind of just helps you up just so you can build the muscle, build up the endurance until you can start doing it for yourself. And I guess now I say it's stupid to say is that's kind of their main demographic, especially if you look at a lot of their marketing and obviously videos on their website. As I say, I saw so many golfers, especially after injury, back surgery, knee surgery, just have to use a buggy, even for 9 holes. They love the game, they want to be out, they have no other choice. They have the raw conviction to still play this game. They want the exercise, they want to be out in the elements, but there's no other option. Well, then this thing does make a lot of sense. And again, one of the reasons why I wanted to review it. Oh, be the number. Tell you what, I'm swinging it good today. Just when the thunder about starts overhead. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly where filming stopped on day 1. Let's just say I was glad to have hyper mode on my side as I had to jog back from one of the furthest points from the clubhouse here at Sanford Springs. And I would have stayed out, but I had to think about my audio equipment and obviously not getting that wet. And as inconvenient as it was, I'm quite glad it happened, as there's a few things I thought about overnight, as well as coming back to the same spot, because let's be honest, I need to test it on this particular hole, as I feel every golf course has a hole like this, and kind of what this would come into its own on. But the 3 things is this. Number 1, I got to run in using hyper mode. I thought that was quite cool, even without the bag on my back. And I can see even for myself, it assisting me up the hill on, let's say, quite a steep and wet slope. Number 2 is that I've only used 2 bars of this lithium battery in the back of this. After all those antics, back out, wet, running up a hill, back to the car park, back out again to this particular hole, we've only used 2 bars. So I'm quite confident in this 1 battery here in the back here doing 18 holes. I'm going to talk about price in a minute, because actually the one that Hypershell sent me came with 2 batteries, and there's some other features. I'll show you the comparisons here. But if I was to recommend one for you to buy, the middle option just makes sense. I know the more expensive is potentially a bit lighter, but I don't really feel this weighing me down anyway. And the fact you get 2 batteries plus a few more features, for me, if you're thinking about spending that kind of money on this device, an extra £100 for all the features and an extra battery kind of just makes sense. And number 3, I had some time to use this without filming. Not playing golf, just walking back out to the golf course, so uphill, downhill, and it's so clever. It knows when you're going downhill, it knows when you're going uphill, and it adjusts. I'm currently on eco mode 4, which I think is more than enough in terms of assistance getting up this hill. We'll do a hyper mode test on that very steep incline in a minute. However, I kind of feel we know who this is designed for in terms of a product. And even though I talk more about affordable equipment when it comes to golf, the whole concept of my channel is making this game more accessible. You don't need to spend £3 on a brand new set of golf clubs to play golf. You can spend £300, £400, £500. And yes, this is more expensive than all those prices that I just listed there. However, especially in this country and potentially other golf courses where golf buggies have to be cart paths only, and you're having to spend money to rent those out, not only that, you've got to do a lot of walking back and forth from the cart path. I do feel this device could take someone that does 9 holes in a buggy or 18 holes in a buggy to 9 holes walking, potentially 18 holes walking. And I think that is actually good value. Right, turn that off. Let's get this somewhat close to the flag, get up this hill, get back to the studio and do a bit of indoor testing. Be the number. The wind is buffeting that. Oh, very nice. I guess another small point is that this rain is child's play to yesterday. I was soaked, drenched, under a tree, did absolutely nothing. And again, this thing's still performed yesterday, still performs today, and I guess designed for adventure. And let's be honest, most adventurers do get wet. Oh, a touch long at the back there. And I have to say, Sanford, incredible turnaround from yesterday, the amount of rain we've had. Right, hold that down. Hyper mode 4. It's crazy, it's mental. Again, I should have brought my bag to be fair, but it literally, this now is dragging me up the hill. It's like having an inbuilt escalator on your legs. Last section, does this device make you swing worse, better, or any different. And not to give too much away, but I don't think this device would be able to be used in like your local comps at your golf course. Maybe it is, maybe it'd be a local golf course ruling, I don't know. However, before I show you the numbers, and they are really interesting numbers, I think we can all agree I played pretty well when I went around Sanford. Even though I was filming, it's raining on and off, I felt like I had good movement. I felt like I was able to swing myself, and that's not knowing my numbers with this device or without it. And to be honest, it would have been a very short video if the first hole, 2 holes, I've realized actually I can't swing a golf club in it. So as you're seeing here, I just warmed up with the device just to obviously get my groove in so I can do some testing. And I'm kind of blown away how well I was actually hitting the ball, like seriously straight. And we'll talk about the numbers, club path, angular attack, club head speed, most importantly, with and without the device. But one crucial thing why I think this won't be allowed in competitive golf at your local golf club, possibly, is because even though I've got great range of movement this way, up, down, forward, which as you would expect, and actually I've got pretty good turning, what I can't do is that. There's no kind of turn out. And actually, I think it's an advantage. I think one of the reasons why I was hitting it so straight is actually it kind of locked my hip in my backswing. I still got ample amount of rotation, but it's almost this tempo thing. As soon as I got there, I was like, okay, backswing finished. Therefore, my tempo, my timing was actually really good. To give an idea on numbers, this is my warm-up one, and that's why I didn't label it. Just over 90 miles an hour, my spin was good, my launch angle was pretty decent, and realistically over 100 and let's say 80 yards carry, which is about my 7-iron distance, I was no more than 6 yards offline, and actually pretty tight dispersion front to back as well. So then I took the device off for round 2. Let's hit some balls, let's see if I see any difference. And I think this is what we've got to take into consideration, is that I was conscious that I wasn't wearing it anymore, and that's one of the things I was thinking, if you're going to play with this device, I'd guarantee you practice and play with it all the time, not just when you're going to a really difficult golf course with mountains and hills and everything else, because I do feel like you will swing different, not because it's restricting you, but just psychologically. However, in round 2, I'm going to show you numbers in a minute, but we can see the dispersion widen a touch. I mean, I'm used to this. Over 180 yards, I mean, that's 20 yards to the left, and that's almost 23 yards to the right. And obviously, my 3 good ones somewhat in the middle. And without that anti-sliding and swaying mechanism strapped to my hips, and I guess this is quite an expensive way for me to learn that maybe I'm sliding a touch at the moment. However, we needed to do another round because I was somewhat concerned in the sense of, actually, my club path and angle attack was exactly the same, so that's great. That hasn't changed. But I did see more club head speed when I wasn't using the Hypershell. Therefore, I had to do a round 3 and just see if it was actually, just because I was warming up, I was slower, or actually, is it restricting power, i.e. rotation and movement? And in the short answer, I kind of proved that, yes, I can also spray it with the Hypershell on, as you can obviously see from the dispersion pattern there. But yes, the power somewhat came back. That being said, what I actually am more happy with, I guess, rather than a mile an hour, half mile an hour, and so many factors that go into that. Just warming up before you go and playing golf will add a few more miles an hour, even though no one necessarily wants to hear that. However, my club path and my angle attack stayed very consistent with, without, with, and realistically, they're the 2 I was really concerned about at the end of the day. Because if this device generally stopped rotation, i.e. the separation of, let's say, the lower half and the top half, and you're already coming over the top, then this device potentially would have made it worse. One thing that I'm really happy to say is I've got the ability to do both. I can come on the inside if I wanted to, or if I wanted to hit a big fade, I can also come over the top. The main concept of this video is, do I think this device will save energy, therefore make golfers play better, play further, play more? Most importantly, without restricting a golf swing. After testing it yesterday and obviously testing it today, for some golfers out there, I actually do believe that to be the case. If you guys are interested, as I say, link in description down below. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on this, as it's a very different video from the typical stuff that we post. And I guess I'll catch you in the next one.